The smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Stephen Rock without it down. Got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yes, that's right. The Survivor Know-It-Alls. We've got the game all figured out. I sent a text to this man. He sent me back a thumbs up emoji. We are back, baby.
God, I'd hope we'd have the game all figured out 10 years later.
At this point.
My
At
God.
this point.
Hey, 10 years of apparently this is our 10-year anniversary. What does that mean, Rob? Because it obviously, is it actually like, what's the date?
Okay. All right. So let me tell you what this all means. Okay. So on September 26th, Stephen is like Mr. Miyagi, attempting to chase down a fly at his house.
I was applauding
on September 26th, 2012. You and I got together for the first episode of Survivor Know-It-Alls.
Wow.
It was actually the episode 2 of Survivor Philippines. We did not start on episode 1.
Wow. Well, that's a strange choice.
Yes. Well, I think that I thought of the idea after episode 1 and then called you and said, and you said, yes, let's do this.
Wow.
And we started it for the second week. And so by next week's episode of Survivor, we will be past the 10-year anniversary, but here we are 10 years after we started, and look at us, Stephen, back again.
Oh yeah, back again. Woo! Yes, really excited. The best part about Survivor for me is talking to you about Survivor. I think this is the most fun part of it for me. I just did Matt Scott's podcast, Pod Friends. We recorded it a day or two ago, and it'll be posting, I think, on September 25th. It was a super fun interview. Matt Scott is a great interviewer. But one of the things I said, what we were talking about the Survivor community and how great it was, and I said one of the great things about the Survivor community, or the RHAP community, I should say, is how it used to be that we would have like live shows and then like people would hang out afterwards. And now it's like people come to hang out and they have to listen to a podcast first. And that's sort of how I feel about Survivor. You know, it's like the Survivor is just the jumping off point for me to get to talk about it with Rob.
Yes. Well, let me, Stephen, say for 10 years of Survivor Know-It-Alls, and we have a lot to talk about from, I thought a very fun episode of Survivor tonight, 2 hours of Survivor tonight, that I just want to say that I really feel like that, you know, I'm doing like all these podcasts during the week, but I think that specifically your contributions to Survivor Know-It-Alls, I think, has really shaped the way that people talk about the game strategically. And I think it really put like a framework around the game of Survivor, starting at that point 10 years ago when we started doing these shows right after the episode, that I think really did shape the way that people think about Survivor. And I think that ultimately shaped the way that Survivor is played. How about that?
Well, I think that's, I don't think that's necessarily true of me. I think that's, I think the conversation we've had, it's been cool to see how, the contestants who have and that's certainly, I think, really been true in the last, 10, 12 seasons when they started to, more aggressively cast fans of the show, like super fans of the show, who have like watched these podcasts and then gone on to play the game. And that's like, I remember like someone, maybe it was like Laurel, saying that they would like sing the Survivor Know-It-Alls theme song, at night and Ghost Island.
It is a bop.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Anyway, enough of that. So I made fun of Survivor at the start of Survivor for talking about how great Survivor is for 10 minutes. And here we are talking about how great the Know-It-Alls for the first 10 minutes.
It's our anniversary. So that I really just wanted to tell you that I really feel like, because I do a lot of podcasts and there's a lot of nonsense that goes on, but I feel like that specifically, this is the show where we really have the first word on strategy. And I just think that you have brought so much of that here with your contribution contribution. So
am I getting fired?
No,
Okay,
it's our anniversary.
Yeah, no, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I feel, Rob, as I said, I feel the same, and I really do think, like, I was waxing. I got the chance to wax when I was talking with Matt Scott to wax eloquent about the incredible community you fostered, and it's just been. I get to feel like he said, like, what's something I don't want to spoil all of this great interview, but what's something that no one else would know? And I was like, well, this isn't some like big behind the scenes secret, but when Rob Cesternino shows up to an event, like, he is not, he is like laser focused. He is like stressed. He is miserable. He is like laser focused to make sure that everything goes right. He puts so much energy and care and attention to detail in everything that I feel so lucky that I get to like waltz in like, a passenger, and just like hang out while you make everything happen. So it's been a gift to ride in the I don't even think I'm riding like the passenger seat. I think I'm like the back seat.
Yeah. Let me drive. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Stephen, hopefully one day we'll get to do that all again in person, but here we get to talk about another season of Survivor. So very excited for our 10-year anniversary season of Survivor Know-It-Alls. One other note just to bring up before we get into our recap. It's the start of a new season. I had an idea to do something that's a little bit crazy here at the start of the season, but I'm really excited about all the coverage we've got coming your way. So I really wanted to, get the word out about subscribing to Rob as a podcast. And so what I thought would be a great way to do this would be also to do something that also benefits others. And so
every time you get a new subscriber, we take a piece of clothes off.
No, well, hold on. Not quite. Not quite. I'm not going to show all my tattoos here tonight on the podcast, but for every new subscriber that we add here between now and the end of the month, I am going to donate $2 to the Boys and Girls Club of America. And so what that means is that, if you are already subscribed, how many other devices do you have? We have a total count of subscribers. Whatever we add to that here between now and the end of the month, we will make a donation of $2 per new subscriber to the Boys and Girls Club of America. I'll be talking more about that over the next week or so as that campaign continues. You can subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search RHAP, wherever you get your podcast, or go to robisawebsite.com/subscribe. All right. Stephen, I really did enjoy this episode of Survivor, and tell me if you think that this is off base at all. I felt like Survivor 41 came back. Everybody was excited about Survivor coming back after the long layoff with COVID. I felt like that, especially like in hindsight, I felt like that a lot of what we had in Survivor 41 and 42 was kind of like manic, all over the place. I feel like that this was a lot more focused as to Survivor having a better grip on what Survivor is and what Survivor isn't. And I think they came in and gave us a really solid 2 hours of Survivor tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting, assessment. I mean, of course, for both of those premieres, we love both of those premieres. And there's certainly plenty of time for this season to become manic and all over the place.
Well, can I just say specifically, the Survivor 41 premiere was, hey, I'm Jeff, and I'm talking to the camera, and we're doing this, and I'm hiding stuff, and come on in, guys, forget about that. Should we change it? I don't know. What are you like? It was just so like, whoa. Yeah. I feel like that Jeff came in, and it was like a traditional opening of the show. Jeff came in, and we had a lot of talk about like, so when did you first start watching Survivor? But I thought that Jeff came in with a very clear definition of what the show is, establishing, this is that it's about creating a society. It is about the journey, but there's also this game that's happening. And I think that they really set up like very clearly like what Survivor is about. And I think that it was very effective.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I think too, this was an episode that was extremely light on strategy to the benefit, I think, of the episode. I think we learned there was so much like rich character work done. We learned, even I was, tweeting with Gabby tweeted and I seconded this, like an hour into the show, I had a good sense of who everybody it was, or a sense of who everybody was. And, I cared deeply about half of them, which I really love how they're going, back to people's hometowns. I love how they're incorporating those stories. I know I think Dalton has tweeted about how it's like sort of schmaltzy, but, and I really like it. I really like that it gives us so much character context. It's like in a novel where suddenly you're flashing back to a character's backstory as a way of like having a deeper appreciation of the choices they're making in the moment, of the book. And I really feel that like that here, and especially when they have got such an incredible cast with such moving, powerful backstories. You learn so much about who they are, and then it gives so much more like depth to the alliances and the relationships. You see why to a certain degree. It's not like, oh, you're there, I'm here, now we're allied. It's there's still a little bit of that, but it's more like, hey, here's two people with hugely different backgrounds, or two people with similar backgrounds, or a few things in common, who are like finding a way to work together and come together. And I think it's really cool. I mean, there was again, like, not too much strategy, right? We saw maybe a couple alliances on each side, but you don't need that much day one strategy. It's not ever that interesting or complex. Like, everyone's going on the beach, like, hey, I like you too, and we've seen it a lot. And I thought this was a really good way to do it. We got some of that, enough of that to get like the rough dynamics of the tribes, but more so we got a lot of character development.
Yeah, a lot of character development. 2-hour episode that a few people noted. Christian Hubicki tweeted to us as well. A friend of the podcast said that this is the first 2-hour One Tribal Council episode since the Heroes versus Villains premiere. I think that they used that time pretty effectively and efficiently. I think that we got to learn something about every single character. You come away, there's nobody you say, oh, purple edit for this person, where that they got nothing. And what's also interesting, just looking ahead to the schedule, and I'm sure the chat will correct me if I am wrong, but I believe next week is also going to be a 90-minute episode of Survivor. I wonder if next episode is when we get two tribes going to tribal council.
Oh, interesting. I think the person who got maybe the smallest edit, interestingly, was Mariah. Often they'll, give some visibility to the first boot. I kind of think it works. We knew enough about her to know, where she was in the tribe, but you didn't need to learn that much about her. You didn't need to get that invested. It was enough to get a sense of who she was, and then she was gone.
All right, well, let's talk about Mariah as the first boot. And yeah, you know what? It was effective in that I did not really suspect. I really was very stumped at Tribal Council about what was going to happen. I thought that maybe, because we did get so much Gabler in the episode, are they going to then double back and pull the rug out at this Tribal Council where, we had seen him so much? Could it possibly be Owen even? I was very nervous for him. And so it ultimately ends up being Mariah. Really, I think just with these small tribes, there's just nowhere to hide.
Right.
I'm interested to know why when Gabler came back from, is it Shipwheel Island? Is it what we? I think we need to rebrand.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no Shipwheel on Shipwheel Island. Like, I mean, Sea Rock. I don't know. You go. Sea Rock Island. I mean, like, we can work on that. Yeah. Sea Rock Island is not a winner.
Sea Rock, I think, is not it. Okay, but we'll work that out. But he says, okay, I'm going to throw myself on my sword here. Okay, I'm not going to play my idol. Why push back on that?
So I want to take it even a step further, or just take a step back. Just to be clear, that idol can only be played once, right? Because I feel like the verbiage of it, and it went by quickly, and I paused it and rewatched it. But even then, I feel like I missed it the second time. I think it said this idol will keep you safe for 2 tribal councils. So the actual text of the idol, I think, and I'm sure an eagle-eyed viewer will correct me, suggests that Gabler's immune for 2 tribal councils. Now, I assume that's not the case. I assume it's like a piece of parchment that he can play once at the first 2 tribal councils. Yeah, to go back and say, I was part of the screw up today, and therefore I deserve to be a target, is very bad strategy.
That was very bad. That was very bad strategy. But if someone is making a bad strategic move, why talk them out of it?
Well, first of all, it seemed like Ellie. Ellie, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
I'm going to take an episode or two to get people's names. It seemed like Ellie wanted to work with Gabler. We saw earlier in the episode, they had a little bit of a connection, and she said, I could see myself working with Gabler. So for whatever reason, Ellie wants Gabler around, and you don't want to. Well, first, and you don't want someone who you think you need in your alliance to throw away their vote, right? You don't know what the numbers are going to be. You know, when you, especially in a 6-person tribe, as we certainly saw last season, one lost vote can be a cause for a real pandemonium.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking at the chat, which had a number of suggestions for us for the island. A couple of good ones that I see. Tyler suggests Roxroy Island. I see also Card Shark Island. I kind of like that.
Island is good. Yeah. Let's call it Card Shark Island.
Yeah, we'll see if they keep going back to it. But for Ellie, and I thought that she was really, really strong in this episode. She ended up being my late winner pick. I was very pleased with what I saw from her tonight. Wouldn't the best move be to basically cut Gabler? She had the alliance with the women. It seemed like she also had the best relationship with Owen as well. Would that have been a better call?
I don't think so, actually. I think that the move they made was the correct move. You know, I think for a couple of reasons. I feel like people get very cute and very clever now in the early boots on Survivor. And I think you do, especially in a 6-person tribe, need to just stick with some of those, classical Survivor virtues. You need to keep your tribe strong. Otherwise, you're going to be right back at tribal council once again. I mean, Ellie's in the admirable position where she does seem to have a lot of different people who she's working with in the tribe. The fact that she and Gabler have a connection, we haven't really seen him connect with anybody else to any degree. Like, that's someone, of course, you want to keep. You Rob Cesternino, you invented that strategy. You want the sort of outlier weirdos who only you have a bond with. I think there's, she mentioned that Gabler is a great worker around camp. He performs well in the challenges. I think, there's a good rationale for getting rid of Mariah, who was slightly, I mean, she was definitely hardworking at camp, I think we saw, but I think she performed like slightly worse in the challenge. The other thing too is the idea of, oh, well, I've got this alliance now and you want to stick strong with your allies instead of strength. Like, it's day 2. Is it day 2? Day 3. It is day 3. The people I mean, I think you stick with your allies on day even 6 or 7, day 8 or 9. I think on day 3, things are so fluid. You've got this women's alliance on day 3 that could easily be gone by day 5, right? And people have made new bonds. And so I think the idea of keeping the group stronger is tantamount here, because otherwise you're just going to be back the next week, and then you're going to have to vote another person off who you're close with.
I'd love to talk about this from Mariah's perspective. I will be speaking with Mariah tomorrow morning. For any of our new listeners, we get the chance to speak with the players voted out on Thursday mornings. And so look for that in our podcast feed. Would love to ask her about what was going on. It's interesting that the entire tribe ended up in on the vote, where the edit sort of portrayed it as that there was like a split decision. But also that Mariah could not have seen or known for sure the blindside was coming, because she would have played her shot in the dark. So right. That what do you think ultimately, like, how did this go down?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I think it was. They wanted to stay strong. Janine obviously came around on that idea.
And we Sammy too.
We saw. I mean, clearly. I mean, we saw a conversation with Sammy and Mariah where Sammy says, "I'm not going to vote for you." But he may already have been in on the plan to vote her out at that point. We don't know. Like, he might have just been blowing smoke at that point. The only downside, right, is what?
That's what he did. Yeah, it's the first part of what he does.
Yeah.
Before he throws the Shih Tzu in the incinerator.
You don't want to be there when he's blowing smoke.
The Shih Tzu hits the fan.
The counter argument that I guess it was Janine made, right, was that, like, next week, if we do vote out Mariah now, suddenly, are we the ones to be picked off? But I don't think this tribe is breaking down so clearly on those lines, right? It doesn't look like there's like a Mike, Owen, Sammy thing. And if anything, it looks like Ellie has better relationships with all those people. We saw, did we see Owen and Ellie have a beat together? We in Owen's kind of strategy montage, I think we did.
Yeah, I think
seemed
so.
To be pretty passing. But I mean, it really does seem like Ellie's kind of, chatting with everyone. you know, so you disagree. You didn't like this decision.
It's hard. That I feel like that Ellie seems like that she is really a player. She has Janine, she has Owen. Maybe she just felt like that in to go with the group of, okay, well, let's keep the women strong. That maybe Mariah is more of the person who's in control of that. Mariah potentially has Sammy. So, I don't hate it. I'm just trying to, wrap my arms around why Ellie went with this decision.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think like she's someone who's got a lot of individual relationships, and you're right. Maybe like in terms of the trio of the women, maybe Mariah had more of a voice in that grouping, and so maybe she thought, I can keep my friends and then also sort of get rid of someone who could be, I mean, but that's totally speculative, right? Like whether, but like, who knows? I mean, I just don't think, for her that grouping of the three women might have been like a nice to have, but not really something that defined the way she was seeing the dynamics on the tribe.
So I really felt like that the theme of, if not the episode specifically, this tribe was that, okay, you saw Owen's frustration with, I feel like I'm on a tribe where nobody really wants to talk strategy. This is a kumbaya tribe. Nobody is really, wanting to jump in and play the game. We heard Mariah say in her opening sequence of, they say that, I didn't come here to make friends. I did come here to make friends. Be my friend. And then you can vote for me in the end. And then we can go for pizza and coffee. I don't know about you. That's not, I don't really like to get
not
into
a great
food
combo,
talk, but I don't think that's a great combo.
Yeah.
Pizza and coffee?
No, I mean, like,
then pick a lane for it. Are we having lunch?
Coffee
or are we having
and
coffee?
Bagels, or pizza and Coca-Cola.
Yeah. But again, maybe that's like the rainbow of like food pairings of like basically it's like everything.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I actually loved anyway. My first note is like, people who come in with this attitude always do really well. Like Natalie White, Michelle, and I think Marianne do it to a certain degree too. Like had that sort of attitude where like I am here to make friends, and that's I think Natalie White had that like explicit quote at one point. And that's typically a great attitude strategy to come in with.
Yeah. But I felt like that this was sort of like, by the time we got to tribal council, that when Marianne, I'm sorry, Mariah, which you tweeted about maybe a cursed name on Survivor at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Because Mariah last season also was voted out. The first ever Mariah came last season, and she too was voted out at her first tribal council. So now, back to back, the first two Mariahs ever, each voted out at their tribal council. It's going to be a tough curse to break.
Yeah. So
Ghost Island Mariah.
Mariah, she said to open that tribal council that, look, I feel like that we did win the challenge today because, and I forget the exact reason why, because they had a good time. Is that what it was?
Everyone gave their best. And as long as you give your best, then you're a winner.
Yes. And
I thought on a more literal level. Yeah.
This was, I think, the most like the most that Jeff has pushed back on the survivors in the new era of Survivor. That I feel like that in Survivor 41 and Survivor 42, I can't think of a time that Jeff really challenged the players on anything that they said. And I don't know if this was this specific tribal council, or if this was maybe like that was like a time and a place where Jeff was like, I'm just so happy. Whatever you tell me, I love everything you're saying. Yeah. And where this was, I felt like that this is the first time in this new era that Jeff is like, okay, like, I don't get what you're saying. Okay. How is that working?
Yeah, that's very funny. That's a really good point. I mean, it was pretty, the idea of, though, everybody kind of coming in and, I think that's a good opportunity for him to say, like, you guys are not playing at the speed of this game, right? Like, so much of the branding around, new Survivor is like, the monster, it goes so fast. Like,
no mention of the monster either in season 43.
But, but there is a giant octopus on the logo. So
there is.
The monster is still there. Yeah. So I do think that, it's that's the place for him to push back, right? Them kind of saying, oh, we're happy, lucky, we all love each other. tribe, which was sort of surprising, right? I mean, I assumed that we were going to get, because there was a very funny conversation where it was with Owen and Gabler, and they're walking back maybe from the water well, and Owen says, "So if anyone says your name, I'll let you know." And then the camera pans to Gabler, which means like in real life, like there's a giant camera in Gabler's face, and it is like rotated into his face, and he's just walking along. Okay, yeah, totally, yeah, go, okay, it's just like, let's not have to do that at all. Let's not go to tribal council. I mean, just like zero strategy. And I thought it was really, I thought maybe it was Owen getting shut out rather than a total dearth of strategy from this group.
Yeah, I was worried about Owen just in hindsight, where I was like, oh, well, maybe that was like that Owen, like nobody wants to talk to Owen. Maybe it is going to be him at this first tribal council. And so he does get the vote from Mariah. That's where Mariah wanted to go. But ultimately, for Mariah, I think it was the wrong decision to try to go after Owen. I wonder if the play could have been, okay, we are going to, Reichenbach Gabler to some degree.
But Gabler, nobody.
He's self-Reichenbach, yeah.
I mean, I think we are seeing Gabler as kind of an outlier because he was, so goofy in the episode. But it seems like Owen is the one who has fewer bonds. It seems like, I mean, and to be fair, like Gabler has the idol. It's a huge risk. He's already said he's going to play a shot in the dark. So like maybe he will. But it doesn't seem, Sammy had that thing, like the person I bond with the least is Owen. Ellie wanted to, didn't want to lose Gabler. It feels like Gabler is actually more connected to the group maybe than Owen is. Like no one is like going to bat for Owen that we see. I mean, obviously Ellie did, but that was like more about keeping the tribe strong. It wasn't like, oh, can't lose my best friend Owen.
Yeah. All questions to ask Mariah tomorrow about what was possible. But I just feel like that once Gabler comes back and says that, okay, I'm going to give myself up, and Ellie's like, no, don't do that. It feels like that there is some wiggle room to potentially get him to, not play his idol.
Yeah. So that's your move. You would have like gone in, like, it's just such a high volatility. I mean, I guess if for everybody else, it's not high volatility.
Or I guess, or tell him that he's safe to the point where, okay, don't play your shot in the dark. You're safe tonight. And then everybody is like, it's totally Gabler.
Right. But you just don't know, right? He still might play his idol. Like you never know for sure. No matter how many times you tell him he's safe, like he still plays his idol, votes someone else out. And then like everything is in an uproar. I mean,
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you could have somebody play another vote, but that's getting pretty fancy for the first tribal council.
And the idol's only there. I mean, again, like people seem to like genuinely like Gabler, right? They seem to like So
seems like a super nice guy. He I thought had a rough episode strategically all the way around, but seems like almost everybody in this, I would say everybody in this cast, seems like, like really, fun people.
Yeah. I really like the cast too. I mean, so far from what we've seen so far, it's very, it's great. A lot of a lot of heartwarming stories. I thought, the heartwarming stories thing is really like, it's really getting to me, and maybe they were like a little, I mean, it's a great direction. When they kind of like started focusing on the stories, I felt like it was sometimes it could be a little ham-handed, but now they've got people with like genuinely inspiring stories, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Survivor is in the new era, where it used to be they got like 17, 18, idiots from, like mostly from California, a couple from Texas. And, that was the show. And now, I feel like, I could never be on the show.
I know. What's your heartwarming story, Rob?
Nothing. I was a guy. I liked the show.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe like somebody would date me if I went on the show. That was it. They said, you're on now. No.
Yeah. I survived cancer, but like I didn't survive cancer through the strength of Survivor. It's like you can't just have had like a heartwarming story. You need to have like Survivor needs to be the thing that got you through that. It's like I was on death's door, and then I turned on CBS and suddenly I lived. That's got it. Like that's the level of heartwarming you need. Really on brand heartwarming. Yeah.
I want to talk about some of these other tribes briefly tonight as well. I also want to invite our live audience to ask your questions. What we have been doing of late is write your questions here in the chat here live on our YouTube or Twitch. We will flag them and answer them later on in the show. No separate link. Just ask your questions here in the chat, and we will get to them in just a little bit. Stephen, I want to talk about some of these other tribes. We have the Blue Tribe, Coco.
Yeah.
Cassidy,
great tribe. Very fun tribe.
Gio, James, Carla, Lindsay, and Ryan.
A lot of really great characters. I mean, Carla, I think, is an early favorite for me. She's just, was great, is a great, you can see her being a little trepidatious and yet like pushing herself to overcome her fear. I feel like she's going to be a huge player. I feel like this is the, the Suri, like I was afraid of leaves and then I came out here and now I'm like the mastermind of everything. Where she's a little fearful, but she knows she can go out there and excel.
I don't know if she was afraid of being. I think she was afraid of. I will be the first boot.
I'm not saying. Yeah. She just seemed to be like a little bit nervous. I got like slightly nervous, but I'm gonna like push myself to go out there. Vibe.
Right. She's positioned very well, sort of like the person who is in the middle, in between the two camps. We'll talk about Jesse on the Vesey tribe, also like similarly positioned where everybody is telling them what's going on. Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, should we talk? I mean, so she's obviously in the women's alliance there. In that group, or is that, that was a full, there was a woman with James, and then, and she and Gio had some time together. Where's Ryan in that? Ryan, I love Ryan.
I mean, Ryan is incredible. I saw it as that Gio and Ryan are sort of the best friends, the new Stephen and JT of the tribe, and then,
just because they were like dug the trench together.
Yeah, I mean, I
didn't really see anything other than digging the trench. We didn't really see anything from them.
I mean, I thought that they bonded over that.
It was a deep trench.
Deep trench. And then also, but then Gio also bonded with Carla. And so, I mean, that when Carla says I'm in the middle of that, these are the people on one side, the people on the other side by proxy have to be Gio and Ryan.
I guess so. I guess that's right. We haven't heard Ryan speak to that, but I'll believe it when I hear it come out of Ryan's mouth.
Yeah. And who else I was also very impressed with in the episode was Lindsay, who,
very fun.
I thought that she came in really polished. We talked about this a lot during the Survivor draft the other night about the Survivor mom and that archetype coming in and sort of like all of the baggage that's associated with being the mom. I thought that she came in really strong, playing very aggressively. And I thought that she is set up very well, very tight bond with James. I thought that Lindsay is in a really good spot to start.
Yeah, and she seemed to spearhead the women's group, and then also, like she was like, and we've got James in there too, and she really kind of was laying it out there, but not in a bossy seeming way. It really seemed like she was sort of in a way that kind of was affirming the alliance, but not necessarily being bossy about it. And James is super fun. Like the whole, like, I'm willing to be the pawn, that line of bet that he had about, you've got to make other people feel like they have the power over you. I thought was a great point, especially on, so I was like, it's always better to let people feel like they have the upper hand. 100% true, especially on a show like Survivor. I mean, I feel like, I flash back to all of my mistakes. It's like, you always want, like, people, as soon as they think you have the upper hand, they're going to try to take you out. It's such a smart strategy to make other people feel like they have the upper hand.
If Coco goes to a tribal council in next week's episode, do you have a feeling of who might be the person to go out?
I mean, it's not going to be Ryan, right? You wouldn't, because he's such a beast. I mean, honestly, I feel like it could be. I don't know. Who do you think, Rob? I
really don't know. I would say Gio, but I feel like that he made the relationship with Carla in this episode, and it feels like that Carla is probably going to be the person who makes that last call. But also, Carla has the thing with the women, with Cassidy and Lindsay, and so. I really don't know. That I think that tribe might just have to, like, I don't want to pull a Gabler, but I think that maybe they're just going to keep winning and not have to think about this.
It's a pretty strong tribe. I mean, they've done pretty consistently well.
Yeah. All right. And then the red tribe is Vesey. That's Cody, Dwight, Jesse, Justine, NECA, and Noel. And we got to spend a lot of time with them tonight. And Cody certainly got a lot of airtime.
Yeah, exactly. The whole I thought it's like maybe he's like a pre-merge, like let's run with this guy while we got him, and then we can say au revoir in the in a couple episodes.
Yes, he had the episode title "Live In," which was the tattoo that we got to see. I feel like one of the shortest episode titles we've had on Survivor in quite some time.
I mean, maybe probably, what has been a shorter one? 5 letters. That might be the shortest of all time.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, in this tribe, we saw Jesse was in that spot in the middle where that we saw that the people who were the older people in the tribe in NECA and Cody seemed to bond. I did not have this pairing on my bingo card of NECA and Cody being two people that were going to get along so well. They bring Jesse in for this alliance. Really, that there seems to be some concern about the other two women in the tribe being friendly in Noel and Justine.
It was very funny, his whole rant about salespeople being dangerous, because like he's hidden that he's like a salesperson. It's like it was one of the funniest instances of projection. I mean, this never has. I mean, obviously there's sort of a cultural stereotype of salespeople as being, sharky, but never has that been an issue on Survivor before, as far as I can remember. And now for Cody to come in hot, being like, these salespeople on Survivor, they will run circles around you and they'll destroy you. Just obviously, both putting this target on Justine, but also like fulfilling his fantasy of what he wants himself to do.
Are all salespeople self-loathing, Stephen?
I mean, I'm not sure if it was like self-loathing or deifying. Clearly that's the vision Cody has for himself.
Because he started saying that. I'm like, hold on, isn't his job elevator sales?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Salespeople. That's it. Got to get rid of them. So I thought it was a good episode for Justine. Got the fire going. Noel, super impressive as well. Thought that Jesse had a really great episode.
And Dwight, who we didn't really see where he was strategically so much, just had a lot of like very fun commentary about how, totally screwy. I mean, it's very funny because you do go on Survivor thinking someone else is going to know how to make shelter. They always cast a shelter person. So that was like a really great scene. It's like the fear of like, you're going to show up and nobody's going to know how to make shelter. I loved that scene that like nobody on that tribe knew how to do it.
Yeah, he was somebody I was really worried about coming into this, and I thought that he had a pretty good first episode. It seems like that he was somebody who the tribe seemed to react very warmly to, except for Cody, who did not believe his story and felt like that it was impossible that he could have gone in the water and then dried in an hour and a half. Impossible.
Yeah. What is he a graduate student in?
I don't know. I'm sure we could look it up in the bio, and maybe the chat knows. I don't know off the top of my head.
That's sort of like a weird, like it's usually they say what the person is studying.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, a little why, in terms of Cody being suspicious of him, I'm just saying like you need more than graduate student. I need a little more specificity here.
Yeah. All right, Stephen, we saw Card Shark Island here tonight, back in the episode, that I felt like that they worked out some of the wonkiness. Now, do we need it? I think is a good question, but I do think they improved it from where we were at in the 41-42 cycle.
Yeah. I mean, what it brings to the table is that it brings people from different tribes together, right? And that has paid off in interesting ways in the past few seasons, in which I think is a strong thing, right? Otherwise, it's just when people get to the merge or swap or whatever it is, it's sort of a free for all. I do think it adds some interesting context and some fun when some people have a little bit of they know each other. There's a little bit of like, oh, that person has an extra thing. Like, oh, that person did that to me. So I do like that component. I mean, is it worth the time? I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that it's like one thing. The cool thing is now they're all together, right? So what's cool about it now is they're all making a choice together. That you have to screw someone to their face too, right? So when Gabler said like, "Hey, I'm going to go all in," he wanted to for the advantage. He wanted to scare others out. But Dwight went for it anyway. So like, is that any tension between him and Gabler down the line, or I mean, it's just it adds some interest. And two, like Dwight knows that Gabler has an advantage now. So that's interesting too.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought that they upgraded that, and I also thought that the sweat versus savvy, I thought also played better here in season 43. Specifically, I like that both times in season 41, 42. The same selection was made. Both teams chose sweat in season 41. Both chose savvy. We got to see both sides of it here in season 43. And I thought especially the puzzle I thought was more interesting and something that you could follow along with visually tonight more so than counting the triangles.
Yeah, I definitely would have gotten that thing wrong though. I would not have had that. Here, hey, how about this for an innovation? Okay, the tribe that comes in second in the challenge gets to choose which one they do, and then the other tribe has to do the other one.
Yeah, I like that
because then they're always going to be flipped.
Yeah. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I
mean, the debate is funny. Like there is some interest in like, the debate of which one to do, for in both of them, like Owen saying like, I don't want to be the one to dig, that was very fun. Was it James who was like, I don't want to be like, I'm not here to be the strong guy. Like someone came out and said that. So, that kind of like jockeying for the roles is funny. And Gio had a very funny quote about like, oh, nobody here, no one here is very smart or something like that.
Yeah. He wanted to do, it was his idea to do the, sweat.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very funny, especially going back to Survivor 41 and Voce, when Sammy said, okay, I'll dig. And then Owen is like, whoa, okay, all right, hold on here. Because I'm going to be the person like where, we saw Voce be like, no, I don't want to do that. But he's sort of like, that was very proactive from Owen to say, no, let's, we're not doing the sweat challenge.
Yes.
Let's work together. We're all in this together. So it's nice to see at least some of the things from the new era that, the survivors are sort of hip to this time around.
Yeah. It was a very fun episode. It was good. I mean, we really sort of elemental tribe dynamics. Here's a group, here's some offshoots of that group, here's a rival group, but a lot of character, a lot of fun moments. I liked it. All right, not much to talk about though, honestly. Like there wasn't like not a lot of strategic complexity, of course. Then that makes it harder for us.
Look, it was a great episode to get to know everybody, and we have the whole rest of the season for all of the strategy. Only one person voted out of the game, and 17 to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to get to questions from our listeners. And so if you're in the chat and you still have questions about the episode, post them in the chat. But first, let me tell you a little bit about, what else is going on this week. Of course, at RHAP It's a Podcast, we are going to get you the most comprehensive Survivor coverage there is every Wednesday night. Stephen and I will be here with you after the episodes. And then I will have a interview with a survivor on Thursday. Tomorrow, I will be talking with our friend Zach Wertenberger from Survivor 42. And as a perk for our patrons, I will be doing those interviews live for the patrons. The patrons can ask their questions live when I am recording those interviews this season here on RHAP It's a Podcast. Of course, the exit interview. And then on Friday nights, I'm going to be doing the Survivor Feedback Show live this week. Chappelle will be my guest on the first Survivor Feedback Show. I'll be doing those live every Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So where to join us live. And we'll have lots of, hopefully, guests coming on through live with us. Not to mention the rest of the Survivor slate, which you can hear in our Survivor podcast feed. The B&B, Survivor Global with Shannon Gus, YX Lost with David and Jessica, Taryn's, Survivor Stock Watch, and Bryce and Wendell on the Purple Pants podcast. That's going to be every week here on Rob as a Podcast. And that's all in our Survivor podcast feed. All right, Stephen. Let's do some questions here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. This is a question from Sage Sam. Who is in control of the Blue Tribe? Lindsay with women and James, or Carla in the swing spot between the women and James and the guys?
I mean, I think it's a great question. And it just is depends on who Carla actually has. If Ryan really is with Carla, then it's Carla, and because she would be in the 4-person alliance and then a different 3-person alliance. If Carla just has a side thing with Gio, that's less compelling, less powerful. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm going to say Carla. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Carla is in that swing position where she is going to decide. The thing that I just don't know is what is she going to decide. That's the one that I really can't wrap my head around.
Yeah,
and really, it comes down to who has the worst relationship with Carla. Could it be Ryan? Is that possible?
No, Ryan's not going home next. I can't accept that.
We can't. Yeah. We can't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know who it could be. I mean, could Carla feel threatened by Lindsay? But I really feel like that we saw that the women's alliance didn't hold on Baca. I really do feel like that the women are going to stick together here on Coco.
Yeah. I mean, maybe so. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's I feel like any day one alliance that's based on kind of an arbitrary classification, I feel like might, because you so quickly people out of the gate, you want some kind of safety. This is my group. We're good. But, day 3, day 4, day 5, you start to get to know people. You're like, this is who I actually like. Like, those are the people I really want to be with. And I think it becomes more individual, more personal. So I'm actually, I think that, could be proven wrong, but I don't think that will happen. I don't think the Women's Alliance will, endure in the same way.
Okay.
I mean, because you have, 3 very different women. And of course it can, people can come together across, cultural lines as JT and I proved to all of humanity in such beautiful and memorable fashion.
Yeah.
But, it's, I do think there's, probably other bonds will form.
Okay. Stephen, how about a question from Daria? You want to take this one?
Yeah, Daria wants to know, do you think Mariah was booted because she came off as a social threat? What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I really wonder about what happened with Mariah. Was she just the person who was the least physical, or was there something that Mariah was doing that Ellie specifically wanted to target?
Yeah, I mean, we knew, it did look like she had a lot of, she came out there to be friendly. She's had a lot of friends. Ellie obviously likes the Rob Cesternino role of I'm the hinge. I've got everybody else. So it really could be the case. I mean, we saw so little. It seems unlikely that they would boot someone just because they were, slightly slower in one challenge or 2 challenges.
Yeah, I don't know if you would vote somebody out for being a social threat at the first tribal council. Where I know the game moves fast. I know it's the new era, but I just think that it comes down to that maybe it really came down to Mariah maybe did not have the closer relationship with Ellie. It seemed like that Ellie and Janine were closer. And for whatever reason, Ellie felt like, okay, Mariah has too much control.
Yeah. I mean, it really, as someone from Philadelphia, she must be very frustrated that she was not on the Philadelphia Strong Tribe. It was a whole alliance, Philadelphia alliance on the other tribes.
Yeah. Okay. How about this question from Elizabeth? Do you want to be in an Ellie position in the center of the tribe dynamic, similar to a Shan? We've seen that leads to peaking too soon. is it better to be quieter at the start?
That's a good question. I think that's my fear for Ellie too, is that she's going to be, come out of the gate hot, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, Ellie's running things, we got to get rid of Ellie. That's, I think, in this, fast-paced, aggressive game, that's a real risk. I want Ellie to be my winner pick, because you do see her being the most.
We could be samesies.
But I have that fear for her, that she is just like she's not coming out hot, because she's not like making big moves. She's just like forming alliances, but I do think people notice that person. And so I do not have winner vibes from Ellie, for that. Only because like any season before season 40, I think she would have won, but now, because we're in this new era, I'm not so sure about that.
But the reason why I made her my winner pick, because there was a couple other people that I was sort of like torn between, but I thought that they had like bigger profiles. And what I liked about Ellie was I thought that she like comes across as very like understated. And while she really does get the game, I thought that she's never going to be the loudest person or like the biggest like physical presence that you're going to notice her all the time. And so I thought she had the ability to really play hard, but also maintain sort of like a lower profile. And while she was running things, I don't know if it was coming off as that she was the person running things. Like, this was a consensus vote. It's not necessarily coming across, I think, like it was Ellie's plan. And we'll see how the tribe reacts after this.
Right. Yes. I mean, you're right. When Janine was talking about it, it was very much as though it were Janine's decision, so it did not look that to be, Ellie kind of pushing others to make a choice.
Okay. All right. How about we'll take a question from Jordan, Stephen.
All right. Jordan wants to know, isn't the best option to tell the truth about this specific exile twist? The possibility of lying and then finding out that you lost your vote sounds horrifying. Yeah, this is a good, an interesting strategy question, Rob, because, there's a lot of, especially, I think it's maybe easier for Gabler to, tell everyone about his idol, but if you are Dwight, do you want people to know that you lost your vote?
I just feel like that the best move here is to tell the truth on this, because I feel like that enough of them are going to go. You don't want to be exposed as a liar. I feel like that they all saw Survivor 41. Right. They saw Survivor 42. It's not that different than what they just saw. So, like, what's the upside here of telling like an elaborate lie?
The nice thing is they get the little parchment that says you won your vote, or you lost your vote. I almost think it would be better if they didn't have that, that there was nothing verifiable, that, where they could go back to the tribe and say, look, this is what happened. Here is my proof. Because it almost makes it easy for them, where if they had to just tell a story and hope that the tribe believed them, I think that might be a little bit more interesting.
Right. Like, I kind of like that Gabler got the advantage at that point, but I didn't like it as much that Dwight knew he didn't have a vote. I kind of liked it where in the 41, 42, they had to go to tribal council. That was where we got that whole like saga with Chanel, where she didn't know if she had her vote or not going into it. Omer didn't know if he had a vote or not. And I think that was kind of interesting. But, I can understand, like, we always say, like, hey, let the players know what the rules are. And so I'm not going to, like, knock them too much that they're actually, like, letting people know, like, what powers they have or don't have.
And maybe it was hard from a storytelling perspective to just have to, that kind of ambiguity. When you're, like, focusing on, 1,000 people or, 10 people running around making alliances, the ambiguity of this person, if they do have a vote, we go this way. If they don't have a vote, that happens. I think could have been confusing.
Okay. Stephen, this is from the Westerosi Ninja. It says, is this the season we will have a successful shot in the dark?
Yes.
I thought it was like an interesting leap from Gabler to go from that, okay, I'm not going to use my advantage tonight. I'm playing my shot in the dark.
Yeah, like I have like totally abdicating all agency in this situation. I have, vote me or don't vote me. Let the fates take me where they will.
Because I think I would kind of be like, hey, it would make it easier if you're going to fall on your sword. Like, could you just not play the shot in the dark?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So I don't know. Was he bluffing in some way? Like, was he trying to like, okay, I'm taking the blame on this, but I don't actually want to get voted out.
Maybe
But
he's
I
saying,
kind of want to like
can
make a grand gesture.
I kind of thought it was, yeah, like I'm going to take a step back. I don't have a vote, meaning I have no agency. You guys are making the choice in whether or not I will, be here or go home. And maybe the survivor gods will spare me. I'm putting myself in the hands of you, my tribe, and in the hands of the fates. But I have totally removed my own agency from this moment.
Okay. And then let's do one last question, Stephen. Let's take this one from Tommy Fry.
All right. Tommy Fry wants to know, who changed your perception from preseason to this episode? Well, I had no perceptions preseason. So
I wanted to ask you. So how much preseason content did you consume before we got here tonight?
0. I like to go in, totally cold. I don't want to have to like feel things about these people. They're TV characters to me. I don't want to know who they are in real. I mean, other than the real life stories that I'm seeing as part of the TV show, you can't badmouth people when you know they're when you've read all the preseason interviews and all their hopes and ambitions. I know this is straight business. From TV character to TV commentator.
That's right. For me, the two people that really changed my opinions tonight were I mentioned Lindsay already, but really it was the two young guys in that I was very worried about both of them coming in Dwight and Sammy. I was impressed with both of them. That I thought that Sammy had some wild confessionals, but I really thought that he would be much more of a loose cannon. He really filled that hero role for his tribe. Not once, but twice in this episode, with sort of like having the out of the box thinking to come up with the 6-digit number. And then also that he was the one that got the fire going as well. So I really thought that Sammy, who I was worried could, no pun intended, just totally flame out. I am much less worried about that happening.
Yeah, Sammy had a great night. I mean, both in terms of his restraint of not trying to be the first person to do everything, and then his ability when the rest of his tribe failed to kind of step in that way, I thought was great. He was, he was a beast in the first reward challenge. He, again, like he took a step back for the puzzle. And then when nobody else figured it out, he solved it. And with the fire, he let Gabler have a shot, and then came in and did it when Gabler couldn't. So, I mean, I thought Sammy had a spectacular, night tonight.
Okay. All right. So let's leave it there for now. I will pick things up on Thursday. Of course, I'll start things off with my interview with Mariah. And then we'll do a recap and ask Zach Wertenberger about what he saw from the Survivor 43 premiere. Of course, you can get all this and much more when you subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast. Look for RHAP wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to robhasawebsite.com/subscribe. $2 for every new subscriber I will donate to the Boys and Girls Club of America for each new subscriber in September. So we really appreciate you getting on board, trying to do something good as well, in addition to providing you with the best Survivor coverage around. It is free to subscribe, but we're donating money to a good cause. robhasawebsite.com/subscribe. All right. Then,
Fishy Award for Ellie, for those who care.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Stephen, Big Brother 24 is still going on as well. The holy trinity of the CBS reality, all in season at the same moment right now. We will have a Thursday night Big Brother eviction recap tomorrow. We'll be live at 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. Then we'll be back again on Friday night at 9:15 p.m. for a special Friday night edition of Big Brother. And then we will also have a finale recap coming up on Sunday at 10:15 p.m. Eastern time, which may even be pushed back because of football. Check your local listings for time on that one. And of course, Taryn will be wrapping up the live feed updates, and we'll have a Patreon Q&A on Saturday this week. All right. Then I talked about the Holy Trinity. The Amazing Race had its premiere, Stephen. Imagine what might have been where we could have been Amazing Race champions. Now new people will be running the Amazing Race. It aired while we were on tonight. I will have a recap of the Amazing Race 34 premiere with Jessica Leese and Mike Bloom on Thursday morning, plus exit interview with the first team eliminated from the Amazing Race.
I would like to go on the Amazing Race just to be the first team eliminated. I think that would be a good, then I can like put it on my resume.
We could have
tell people at cocktail parties that I was on the Amazing. Oh yeah, I was on the Survivor and the Amazing Race. But wouldn't have to actually like go on the Amazing Race.
Yeah, you can just go home after that. I think that's noble.
I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to get injured.
Yep. Okay. Stephen, your friend and mine, Tyson Apostle. People loved watching him on the challenge. You can hear Tyson every week on Rob as a podcast on News AF. Tyson, Danny, Bryson, and I get together to talk about the week's most interesting news stories. Just today, we talked about what's going on with the FDA said, hey, stop making NyQuil chicken. Stephen, you haven't tried that yet, right?
Sounds delicious.
Yeah. Okay. NyQuil chicken. It's a big no-no. We talked about that and much more on News AF. Join us every week to talk about all of the crazy stories from the internet. And then over on our Love is Blind recap, Asia and Mary got back together. It wasn't a great night for Asia with the draft, but it was a great night when Asia and Mary got back together to talk about Love is Blind After the Altar Season 2. You could hear that in our Love at First Sight podcast feed at robbinswebsite.com. Okay. And of course, look, you want to become a real Survivor insider, you got to become a patron of Rob Has a Podcast. Of course, we're doing all of the bonus content for the patrons. We'll be doing Survivor Academy in 5 parts this season. We'll do the first Survivor Academy next week, access to our patron community, all of our patron shows, and much more. That's at robbinswebsite.com/patron. Okay.
A lot. It seems like a lot, man. I mean, you got to cut back, take a break.
And then just on one last note, Stephen, that friend of the podcast, Randy Bailey, reached out to me, and he had asked that would the Survivor Know-It-Alls promote that he is raising money for Give Kids the World. His Heroes versus Villains game worn shirt is up for auction for Give Kids the World.
This is a fun
shirt. So it is just gone on auction within in the last hour. You can check out, bid on Randy's Heroes versus Villains shirt on eBay. Just look for Randy Bailey.
Hey, the nice thing is he didn't wear it for that long.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's Tommy Bahama.
Yeah.
Very nice shirt. You can own this piece of Survivor memorabilia and support a good cause that Give Kids the World. So check that out as well. All right, Stephen, what's coming up for you?
I'm just waiting. Just as I go back into my, cryo chamber until next week.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's working. All right.
So I just cry missing you.
Yeah. So no, it's not a cold. It's your crying.
No, just cry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, this was so fun to be back here for the start of Survivor 43, if you can believe it. And so we will be back with another Survivor Know-It-Alls next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. Stephen, we recently went over 100,000 subscribers on the Rob Has a Podcast YouTube channel.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What's your biggest social platform?
YouTube, 100,000 subscribers.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah. All right. And then they're all here to see you every Wednesday night.
Oh my God, that's a lot of pressure.
No pressure. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
When are you going to pass CBS? Survivor. Survivor's at what, like 4 million now? 6 million?
All right, so a while, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. You're on the right trajectory. They're going down and you're going up. So
we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.